Republicans are hoping to pass their tax cut bill this week and give President Trump a chance to sign the bill into law before Christmas. The bill does this. It lowers the corporate tax rate from 35% to 21%. It lowers the top individual rate from 39.6% to 37%. And as an added bonus to those at the top, it raises the income level where that rate kicks in. But the bill also nearly doubles the standard deductions for taxpayers who do not itemize, potentially a big help for lower and moderate income households, and it doubles the child tax credit. Also, there were a number of changes in the final days that restored or expanded popular deductions, like those for student loans and for medical expenses. Still, some economists say this bill is heavily tilted in favor of the wealthy, and most Americans seem to agree with that assessment. 65% said that, according to a Quinnipiac poll out this week, and that perception could become a big challenge for the Republicans in 2018. Joining me now is the White House Director of Legislative Affairs, Marc. Mr. Short, welcome back to the show, sir.
Chuck, thanks for having me back.
I'm going to play for you a list of promises the president made when it came to taxes and discuss them with you after you hear it. Here it is.
At the center of our plan is massive tax relief for the American middle class.
We're going to have 3 brackets instead of 7. We're doing a major simplification.
And we're going to make it nice and simple. And we're getting rid of carried interest.
All of this does not add to our debt or our deficit. In other words, it's going to cost me a fortune.
All right. None of those things are true right now. And we can debate the middle class aspect in a minute. I know that is that I concede, but we're still at 7 brackets. No more tax simplification. We still have the carried interest issue, which is something he vowed to get rid of multiple times as a candidate. And by the way, he does personally benefit from every analysis on this, and there is a hit on the debt. What do you say to those broken promises that the candidate Donald Trump made on taxes?
Chuck, there are many deliveries here in the bill that the president made promises on. One, it does simplify the tax code. Some of the things you're not talking about is that it eliminates oil and gas production credits. It also eliminates many deductions that families and businesses were taking, such as specifically lobbying expenses. It's helping to drain the swamp. There are promises he made, he delivered on. There's certain industries here that made it impossible for us to deliver on every single one of those. But keep in mind what's most important, Chuck. We lowered the corporate rate from 35% to 21% to bring jobs back to our country. That was a signature accomplishment in this bill, a 40% reduction. He is lowering and delivering middle-income tax relief to families across the country. For an average single mom earning $40,000 a year with 2 children, she gets a $1,400 tax benefit. For the average family of 4 earning $70,000 a year, they get a $2,000 tax benefit. He had delivered on his promise to focus on middle-income families as well as to provide corporate tax relief. The simplification, there's several elements we did simplify. We didn't get as much as we want. It's part of the compromise here, which you have to work with.
Okay, it was interesting to me that you led with, you think the singular accomplishment here is on the corporate side of things. You made that permanent. The middle-class relief that you described is not permanent. And in fact, in order to stay within the rules, it keeps creeping up when they expire. And I know you believe that a future Congress won't have the guts to let it expire. But that's why subject individual Americans to that cliff and not corporate America?
It's a fair question, Chuck. But here's the reality: is that we would love to have the individual side permanent too. The reality is that corporations need to make investments years in advance to know what's going to happen, as opposed to numbers continuing to gyrate. So you're giving them assurances as to where we're going to be 10 years out so they can make long-term investments in our country. The budget reconciliation rules in the Senate are somewhat arcane and make it difficult to do both. If we could get the individual side permanent, we would love to do that also, and we'll continue to work to try to do so.
Is it possible that Joe Manchin is right, and if you had opened up a bipartisan door here, you could have actually done real reform instead of basically having to only do a tax cut?
Oh, it is real reform. It's the most significant tax reform we've had since 1986. So the reality is that I sat in Joe Manchin's office many evenings trying to find a pathway forward to make this bipartisan. And as much as I'm sorry that Senator Manchin continues to torture himself by staying in the party of Chuck Schumer and Elizabeth Warren, we think there were ways that Joe Manchin could have helped us out. But we could not get 8 additional Democrat senators to get us above a 60-vote threshold. Therefore, we go the budget reconciliation route because this is important to the American economy and the American people.
I want to ask you about 2018. Speaker Ryan has said that he wants entitlement reform to be a focus of 2018. Here's what the president promised on the campaign trail about entitlements.
Save Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security without cuts. Have to do it. Get rid of the fraud, get rid of the waste and abuse, but save it.
Will that campaign promise be held by the president, no matter what Speaker Ryan proposes?
Yes, that campaign promise will be held.
No cuts. No way anybody will interpret any reform of Medicare as a cut.
Keep in mind,
he'll veto it.
Keep in mind what we tried to do when we actually tried to repeal Obamacare would have had the single greatest entitlement reform in Medicaid to make sure that the program was preserved. It's on an unsustainable path. So the president does not.
The president didn't want to do any cuts there, but you did do cuts in Medicaid.
We did because he was trying to protect the program.
So,
and right now it's on an unsustainable path that will not last.
So the without cuts. So that is a pledge he can't keep.
On Medicaid, he has looked to make sure that the program was preserved for future generations.
All right, I got to ask you about the Alabama special election because of what you said to me a month ago about this race. Here it is.
There's no Senate seat more important than the notion of child pedophilia, Chuck. I mean, that's the reality.
Alabamians agreed with you, but the president didn't. Why?
Well, the president felt his responsibility to the party, that he is the standard bearer of the party. It's who the party chose. But he also recognized that Roy Moore was a deeply flawed candidate. And the day after the election, something that has not, frankly, received as much coverage, is the president called Doug Jones. He congratulated him on a well-run campaign, and he said, I look forward to working with you when you get here. We hope that, frankly, Doug Jones will help us change the climate here in Washington where we can actually begin to work in a bipartisan manner. The question will be, will Doug Jones actually work to represent the people of Alabama, or will he side with Elizabeth Warren and Chuck Schumer on their agenda?
If you knew the president was going to end up supporting Roy Moore, would you have told me that?
Chuck, those sentiments were sentiments that are heartfelt.
Let me ask you about the news overnight. I know that there is a lawyer for the Trump transition, Trump for America, that says that Bob Mueller's investigation got the transition emails. PTT.gov is how all those email addresses and got those government-issued or government-used emails unlawfully. Mueller's office says that's not true. A statement this morning: we have obtained emails in the course of our ongoing criminal investigation. We have secured either the account owner's consent or appropriate criminal process, implying perhaps that there was a subpoena to GSA. Do you believe these were unlawfully
Chuck, thankfully, I'm not in communication with a transition lawyer for the Trump team. The reality is that this administration has complied in every single possible way with the special counsel. Taxpayers have spent millions and millions of dollars in this investigation that has not yet proven any sense of collusion with the Russians. I think the American people are ready to turn the page.
Okay, but is the president going to continue to cooperate, or is he setting the stage for firing Bob Mueller?
No, there's no conversation.
There's no way he's going to fire him.
There's no conversation about that whatsoever in the White House, Chuck.
None whatsoever.
You guys keep bringing that up. We have continued to cooperate in every single possible way with that investigation.
Okay, Marc, I will leave it there. I appreciate it. Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and then click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.